Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. We are the Shifters. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and my co-host here tonight, Linda Lehman, as usual, my partner in all crimes. It's 2014. Linda, are you excited?
I am so stoked, Mark. I'm just dancing in my chair.
And one of the reasons is that we decided that we were going to bring you on a little adventure. And that's for all of the people that maybe didn't, perform to the level that they wanted to last year, or maybe for people who are just now looking at, wanting to start to work from home, or, and you could be employed by someone and you work from home. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're an entrepreneur who has your own business. This is going to apply for anyone that's kind of working on their own, and it's going to help, bring you a performance level that perhaps you might be a little uncomfortable with to start off with, and it might take you out of your comfort zone in a lot of different ways. But what it will do, and I know I will guarantee this for sure, it will allow you to break free of some things that are limiting you right now, and you may not even realize it. And so we're gonna start through a series of information and of exercises, so that you can step by step, just gradually, little tippy toe at a time, that you can actually get information and start moving forward. Now we realize, I know that lots of people, Linda and I, not only do we mentor entrepreneurs, but we also monitor a lot of the opportunities that they're in. And it helps us when we're actually mentoring them and helping them in their growth. It actually helps us to understand what they're being given as a resource to become successful. And honestly, what's missing in most of them, and most of them are kind of backing up now going, oh, wait a second, I gave you something, but I really didn't tell you how to use it. That's like, and it brought me back to so many people saying that, Linda, I think you're going to actually chuckle at this one, is your dad trying to put that bicycle together Christmas Eve without the instructions.
Yeah, because, what are instructions? We don't need those, right?
Exactly. So that's what's happening to a lot of people. Now, I'm going to preface this whole entire series with the fact that if you're not doing anything to improve yourself, then you may not be seeing results for a whole other reason. And that's because you're just not doing anything. And that's a deciding factor in this too. But tonight, we're talking about, is your entrepreneurial life environmentally friendly? And we're going to look at this from two ways tonight that really actually come together with it all. And I'm going to let Linda start here, because one of the things you're going to need in all of this, we know this, is there is a decided and definite shift in how you view you and the world. So Linda, let's start them off, and then we'll just travel through this tonight.
Okay, sure, Mark. Thank you so much. And I was thinking about tonight, and one of the key things that any entrepreneur, anyone who wants to, as you said, even work with an employer, but maybe work from home or work unsupervised, one of the key places that we need to start, that anyone needs to start, is the internal environment. I'm talking about your mindset. Now, you brought up the dad and the bicycle, and it made me think of a time, way back when I was this preteen or teenager with an attitude, and it was homework time, and it was a stretch, a challenge sometimes, and I'd be studying something, and I didn't want to take the time to get it. And so as any teenager, I wanted somebody to give it to me. And so I was in that really whining attitude, I can't do this, I can't do this. And my dad, as angry as it made me and as much as I love him, he would always give me these profound words. You can do it if you put your mind to it.
You know, and I hated that too. Although, yeah, now I say the same thing. Yeah, I grew into my mother. We grew into our parents. But the reality is, what we didn't understand back then too, right, Linda? They had wisdom, my friends. They had wisdom. I know that Linda and I both enjoy our children growing up and coming to the age where they're really just coming into themselves, and how they kind of turn around and look at you sometimes and going, "Oh yeah, I know where that came from." No, it's interesting. But off topic. Let's get back on track here with the entrepreneurial mind.
Exactly. Well, you know, at that time, as you mentioned, I didn't know what he meant by that comment, and you know, I would just slap the textbook on my head, and, you know, hoping that the information would just sink in through osmosis. But he was giving me these great words of wisdom. And any success in life, whatever you define success as, begins in the mind. It begins with your mindset. And it really begins with your thinking, what you think about things, and how you're allowing what's going on around you to impact those thoughts, Mark. It's you know, it's the old saying, and I think that you said it last week. You know, if we keep doing the same thing, and that the definition of insanity, if you keep doing the same thing but expect different results,
yeah,
that's insanity. If you continue to think the same things, then you're going to get the same results. So it starts in the mind. If I could ask our listeners to give a visual to themselves, if they just picture their head, and we'll call that their mind, and then everything from the neck down is their body, and then just kind of draw a mental line from ear to ear, dividing your head in half. There's actually two parts of the mind involved here. We have our conscious mind, which is what you and I are using right now, and what our listeners are using to listen to the show and work hearing on a conversation. That's our conscious mind. Realize this, that's only 10% or less of our thinking. What really goes on, this is like the, you know, it's like the tip of the iceberg floating up on top of the water. The 90% of our mind that we don't see, and most of the time we don't acknowledge, is our subconscious mind. That's like the bottom part of the iceberg that's sitting below the water that you can't see. We form our thoughts in our conscious mind, and we talked about this last week. You know, all of our senses, what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, are like antennas sticking up out of the top part of our head, or the top part of our mind, which is our conscious mind, Mark. And so all of this information is just being fed in there. And we're processing it, we're thinking it with our reasoning faculty, if we're paying attention, that is. A lot of times we just let this stuff sink in. But what's really controlling us is our subconscious mind. And that's where our feelings live, Mark, our emotions.
Yep.
And so what happens is we're thinking these thoughts, and a lot of times we're not paying attention to the thoughts we're thinking. Like we're down and out, we're frustrated because we want to make a change, but all we can do is worry about and think about our current situation. There's not enough money in the bank account. How am I going to pay what's necessary to buy this product to be an entrepreneur? Or, you know, my house is a mess. I can't find anything. You know, those thoughts are causing us to what, Mark?
We just monkey and chatter,
right?
monkey and chatter, monkey and chatters.
Yeah. And what's it doing? It's causing us to feel frustrated, angry, depressed.
Defeated.
Well, exactly. Well, our body is an instrument of our mind. And so those feelings have to be expressed somewhere. And the only way that the only avenue that they have to express themselves is through our body, in the form of the actions that we take or the actions that we don't take. And it's from those actions that we take that produce our results. So, Mark, there's really a cause and effect relationship between our thoughts and our feelings and the results that we get. So instead of just looking around us and saying, oh, well, I need to change the way I act, or I need to change my behavior, that's not where it starts, Mark. It actually starts by changing our thoughts, what we're thinking about, what we're focusing on, and what we're feeling about what we're focusing on. That's where it starts.
And we started this off saying, yay, it's a new year. I mean, for me, Christmas is my favorite time of year. But come January, I kind of mentally shuck off everything from the previous year. And then I kind of do a sort through stuff, what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to leave behind, and what's going to, advance me now. Like, I love this time of the year, and I like it because everybody, like the whole world, right now, the whole world is on your side because the whole world has made resolutions and January, yay, I'm going to start losing weight, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this. The whole world is in a I'm gonna frame of mind. So there's no better time to set your mind into the place that you need it to be in order to be successful at whatever you're endeavoring to do right now.
Exactly, Mark. And you know what? We can all draw off of that momentum and that energy. Why not?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, me too. As I said, I'm just so excited. I just am beside myself on the accomplishments for this year. And you said something very, very important there, Mark, too. And it helps us to get focused on what we're doing and take that momentum into this new year. You said that you were sorting through things, and it's important as we're sorting through our last year, our past year, is to not look at it like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad this year is over. It was just one disaster after another, after another, after another. No, that's only going to give you more disasters in this upcoming year.
Yep.
But instead, it's time to celebrate all of the successes, big and small, that we've had throughout this year. And just think about those. Just go back to the beginning of last year and think about all of the things that you have accomplished. And anytime anything that didn't quite go right crops up, you can push it aside, or you can say, okay, well, maybe it didn't go the way I wanted to. Where's the lesson in that one? What did I learn from that? How did I grow from that situation that maybe wasn't the best situation? What's my positive, my good takeaway from that? And celebrate the takeaway. It's not always roses and honey. There's things that happen, but sometimes those unexpected things that happen are there to help us to grow and to actually get us closer to our goals if we look at it from that perspective. And maybe that's part of the growth that we need to have, is changing our perspective to look at the lessons and the growth in a situation instead of the doom and gloom in a situation. Do you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And as you were talking, I was just kind of thinking of the same thing on when you're at the end of anything. You kind of look back, like I want our listeners to actually do another little exercise here as well, is how many times can you look back on the past year when you worried, fretted about something that now you look back and you go, oh my goodness, what was I even worried about? Or something silly that, you were totally, devastated by the fact you did something or somebody did something to you or something happened, like you lost your job and that. But now you've moved into a new space in your mind and you look back and you're laughing at it now. See, isn't it funny, Linda, that when we get bogged down, when we start getting into that, defeated and depressed and all of that, we forget. And you're right, the celebrations, the wins, we do forget them. It's almost like, you get cloaked with this, I don't know, Spock would have something for it, that mind-melding whatever. You get locked into some kind of weird vortex inside your head. But how many times when this happens to you, do you kind of wake up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, with a fab idea about something? Because this is how it works. It filters into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, if you allow it to, will find solutions to things. But, man, that's what I do. Every time I run into a wall about something, I'm going, okay, just like you said, how did whatever, do I have any kind of frame of reference for this? And how did that work out for me? And what are you worried about? Really? I mean, what are you really worried about? We fret about, it's like stealing our future away when we worry, and totally stealing our present.
Exactly, Mark. And it's such a waste. As you said, if you think about those times, you look back at them and you have to laugh at yourself. Like,
yeah.
Why did I worry about that? Or why did I let that get under my skin? Why did I react that way? Why didn't I just step back and, bless the situation and move on?
Well, and that's just it. But that's the part of readiness. If you do the little things every day, like we tell you guys to do every day, when something small comes up, you don't let it ride your back for the day. You deal with it then and there. That's part of your environmental change. It's environmental. Isn't just physical things, although you're going to have to make some changes in your physical being, not your physical being, but your world, in order to facilitate a successful outcome as well. But, taking those small steps to stopping when things are starting to frustrate you. And it could be you're trying to do a blog post, and the kids are running around, and they're making a bunch of noise, and so you find yourself banging on the keyboard, and your jaw is clenched, and you're just like scrunching up inside yourself. Well, okay, let's look at that. If you continued on, Linda, tell me what would happen.
You either post a very angry blog post, or you're going to yell at the kids, or you're going to tear up your computer. It's not going to be a pretty fixer.
It's not going to be, but yeah.
So if you just most people live.
Yeah. But people let it go beyond that. So if you just stopped and, okay, environment, this is what we're talking about. If the environment isn't conducive to doing work, then you're going to have to, either work at a different time. Like perhaps if you're a stay-at-home mom and your kids are still at home, there's nap time or there's quiet time, setting them up with a movie where for at least 20 minutes they're going to maybe be attended to that you have to do things. You're going to have to reconfigure how you think inside your head about what a day looks like, as well as, the environment that you're in. Because you can't make little children stop being little children. There's just a limit to where they're going to go with things because they're kids, and that's who they are, right?
Right, Mark. And you know what? Those times, and kudos to the working mothers out there who want to work at home and who are trying to set themselves up to work at home, just so that they can be there for their kids. That's so important. I mean, I was visualizing the example you were giving with the kids running around, and I'm thinking, you know what? What's it going to hurt to go play with them for a little while?
Yeah.
If it's going to release some of your tension so that you're going to come back in a better space mentally when you do come back to work on your blog or whatever it is that you're working on, spend some time with them. And then, as you said, Mark, when they're taking their naps or when they're having their quiet time or their movie time or they go to bed, or maybe you have a part-time high school person who comes in after school and watches the kids for you, then you can carve off and close yourself off and make that your office time. And you're going to find that you will be much more productive. You're going to be in a happier place. You're going to enjoy what you're doing. At the same time, you're going to enjoy your children. They're not going to be a nuisance for you. They're going to be a joy for you.
Exactly. See, these are changes with how you perceive things and how you change your environment to make it work for you. And it's like many people that we work with try to put the square peg in the round hole. this is what I have, and I have to eke out this time. No, if you look at the time, like look at the frame and see what fits inside of there, and when it does, you are going to find so many times throughout a day where you can actually get work done. And I also appreciate, and I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, because it really is not. If anybody thinks that working for yourself and working from home is easy, has got to maybe go get their brain examined right now. It's not. And I appreciate, you've got laundry, you've got meals to make, especially if you're home. And if you're a working person who is also a mom or a working dad, single parent, and you also have to work right now before you can transition, it's even more of an effort to rejig your time. But I'm going to tell you, you are going to find many, many times that you have time vampires in your life. You're going to have to reorganize things, maybe plan your dinners like I do. Still to this day, Linda, still to this day, I plan everything, and I have my whole meal for the week done on Sundays, because that's the way I had set it up as a single mom, working from home with my daughter, right? I had set that up right from the very beginning, like, how am I going to do this? Sunday, it was a blast for her and I to be cooking and messing up the whole kitchen and everything, and I put everything together. And so when it came for lunches for her and dinners and stuff like that, I wasn't fretting. I wasn't interrupting my work in the middle of my work thinking, what am I going to make for lunch, or what am I going to make for supper? You have to think of those things.
Right, it takes discipline, Mark. And I'm thinking back to when I first started working from home, working for an employer, but working from home. There was a huge shift that needed to take place for me and for the people around me, because first of all, for somebody stepping out of the other brick and mortar environment into working from home, friends and family go, oh, well, you're at home, I can call you anytime I want to.
Yep.
And they do. Or, as you said, oh, what's it going to hurt for me to get a load or two of laundry done while I'm trying to work? It doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Or then the opposite. Well, since I've got my laptop, I can just work longer and longer and longer and longer and ignore my family.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That makes me crazy. Linda, that makes me crazy when you see people doing that. They've got the kids at the playground or whatever, the kids are in the backyard. And granted, I guess there is sometimes that, kids will play and you don't need to. But then there's mom or dad on the laptop not paying any attention at all to what is going on with their children. And here's the thing. They said, I want to stay home with my kids. Okay. How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, you have to be present. If you're going to stay home with your kids, you have to be present for the kids during a certain time. So it does take discipline. It takes juggling, but it can be done.
Oh, well, you and I are both proof of that. So are like a gazillion other people on the planet Earth that have successful businesses. And they've gone from everywhere from not having a dime, to making a commitment to changing their lives. And there's something I know. And everybody, if you're going to be truthful and honest with yourself, you're going to know the answer to this as well. If you want something bad enough, you will find a way, whether it's time or money. And I think when we're coming right back to the center of what Linda and I talk about every week is, you've got to have the hunger. The hunger. It hurts if you don't do it. Because if you don't have that for whatever you're trying to pursue, you're going to find a way not to do it. And, I will do the laundry. Or I'll go, I can do that tomorrow. There's lots of things in my life where I didn't, and even some things now, I will say honestly, that I don't have the hunger for, and they are taking me forever to do. One of them is renovations in my house. I finally this week said, okay, I love doing it when I get started. I love ripping out the walls and building stuff. I love it. But do you think I get started? No. So I finally said, okay, that's it. I'm hiring somebody to do this because I'm tired of looking at my house without doors on it.
Mhm.
We all do it.
Yes,
But
we
if
do.
if that was my job, right, to renovate, and I was giving myself money for it, that might be a different perspective. And so these are the things that changes. You have to take a really hard look at things and how you're framing everything, whether it's the physical, the mental, you have to reframe everything if you're really, really going to be successful at this. And some of you are going to take a long time getting there. And you know what? Don't kick yourself about that. It takes time.
It does take time, Mark. Now, what about the people who say, well, I don't want to work for somebody else anymore because I don't like being in an office. I want to work for myself.
Well, here's my theory on that. You have to put yourself in a business frame of mind. When I first started working from home, I went from a corporate world, and I mean I did have jobs where I worked from home a little bit, but I really didn't. I'm not going to put that into that frame because you kind of did the work you need to do and you're off the computer. I earned my money anyway, so let's put it that way. But then when I decided that I was going to earn my money, you know what I did? I kept my same schedule for the first 6 months as if I was working. I actually took my daughter, a friend of mine had a day home, took my daughter to the day home, and I came home, and in my suit, I got up, did everything that I would normally do. When I got home, instead of driving to the office, I drove to my house, went into my office, I scheduled it, I did the same break time. I kept a very strict regimen of getting myself into the right space. And then after the first month, I kind of, I had Alana at home. And, we sat down and talked about work time, play time, how, and I made a negotiation with her. If we're going to do this today, then I've got to do this. Can you do something for a couple hours now so we can do that later? And it was this negotiation that her and I went through to move through this, and she got used to it, then I got used to it, then the time frames got longer. But I have an office, and that's where I work. Now, after I do have this and I know I'm going to work and I'm in the flow of things, yeah, I do go to the park and I write my book. I do sit out on my deck in the summertime and do that. But I'm working, and I will set my alarm clock to say, okay, don't go wandering over to the neighbor's house and checking out what they're doing, because for 1/2 hour you need to be here working. So I know I can be easily tempted to not work, right? My friends are at home, lots of people. I mean, I'm in the age group now where, a lot of my friends are actually retiring. So they're going, yeah, let's go golfing today. Well, yeah, if I go golfing with you today, I earn no money, and that means I'll never be able to golf again. So yeah, you have to, this is a business, and you're in business. You're not in play. This is not a holiday. This is where you are going to earn the money to play.
Exactly, Mark. You hit it on the head. And it is important. I want to reiterate, it is important to have a space that you call your office. This is your workspace. Now, I know some people may not have the luxury of having an office like you and I do, because I've got a room in my home that is specifically my office, and I know you do too. Some people have to start their office maybe at the kitchen table. But again, as long as they can be disciplined and cordon it off.
Yeah.
Don't do the dishes, don't do the laundry. I mean, that for me, Mark, is still, even today, as long as I've been working from home, my laundry gets done on the weekend. It doesn't get done during the week.
No, that's it. It's the same thing with me, and I look at it every weekend going, why didn't you do this during the week? Because I'm still in the pattern of what I do. I have my work day, and that's what I do. Now, you will see me goofing off, but I actually have goofing off time that I've actually scheduled into a week. Like I might work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday morning, and Wednesday is my day to I'm not working today. You can phone me all you want. I'm not answering the phone. but it's my schedule. And as long as I'm earning the money I want to earn, because I'll tell you, the day that changes, I'll be changing my schedule.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
We're down at the end of another half an hour. I cannot believe this, Linda. We just get into stuff, and we have to, oh, man. Okay, well, this is what. You guys, you're not going to miss out on anything, because what we want you to do, we'll put some exercises, and they are going to be on our site. Oops, I just went too far here. I must have to, oh, there we go. Here we go. So if you go to our site, whentheshifthitsthevan.com, right after the show, give me about 10 minutes, right after where you registered for the show, you're going to see a bonus feature. And Linda and I have some more information, and we have some exercises that we want you to do this week. So that next week, we're going to dive into going beyond this. And I know that, you will find, Linda and I do this, we kind of wander with our thought processes. This is a live show, unscripted. This is how we talk. This is how we energize each other. So another thing that I'm going to go on the outs of this, and I give Linda the last word, as always, is that buddy up with somebody. Buddy up with, it can be like Linda and I don't even live together, right? We're at both ends of the world almost. But we motivate and help each other. So that's a really great thing that you all can do to help yourselves as well. So Linda, last word on this show, and then away we go.
Okay, Mark, well, thank you. And I want to go back to helping people clear the mental clutter and start being aware of their thoughts and feelings. Pay attention. If you want to know what you're thinking, or what, just ask yourself what you're feeling. And your emotions are stronger than your thoughts. So if you're looking around and you're getting emotionally involved with what's lacking, with everything that you don't like, then you want to change that, because as long as you're emotionally involved with that, then that lack is all you're going to have. So the time to change is right now. Let your marvelous imagination out to play and picture exactly what you want things to look like and how you want things to be. And get emotionally involved with that picture instead of with the lack picture. And you'll find that you're going to be moving in the right direction so much faster.
Yeah, and we're going to have to really talk about that, maybe on the next show, this sense of lack. And I don't think people even understand how much that does affect them. But tonight, my friends, we are at the bottom end of another half an hour. And we, again, want to thank you all for dropping in, spending some time with us. And we hope that something that has dripped from our lips will help you become more successful in your entrepreneurial journey. So from here, Mark in Canada tonight, good night, everybody.
And good night from Linda down in Florida.